Deep breath, everyone. The records are now open. Welcome to a very special episode of Akashic Answers with Emily and Amona. I see you in the house. Please, like Anamona, say hello once you get here. Also, let us know where you are tuning in from. And I want to invite you into the very first activation for today. Begin envisioning these pinpoints of light based on where we're all tuning in from, illuminating on our planet and creating a grid of consciousness where we can share intelligence, transmissions. This is going to be a good one today. If you are a regular here to Akashic Answers with Emily, you know that what we usually do on this show is I share with you about what the Akashic records are, how to use them, and then I let you all rapid fire the questions that are important that you get answers to so that you can make decisions for your life and make powerful shifts. So we are creators. The choices that we make in our life, choices of how to show up, choices of how we choose to think, choices of what we choose to feel. Sometimes we don't feel like our feelings are a choice. We feel like they're just happening to us, but we really do have a choice. And it's important that we take our freedom back in these moments of choice, because this is where we have the opportunity to affect our own vibration. You're thinking bad thoughts, negative thoughts, dense thoughts, scary thoughts, traumatic thoughts. You're going to feel emotions that match that, and you're going to consecrate a vibration within you that brings to you more situations that match that frequency. So this is why we need to talk about taking our choice back, taking responsibility for our thoughts and our feelings. And the Akashic records give us instantaneous wisdom, guidance, and clarity about aspects of our subconscious programming that we may not be aware of, so we can make the best choice. We can see why we are working on default mode. And so normally on the show, I have you all participate by helping me call forward the intelligence that we need. Unless all hell breaks loose in my life, human Emily is experiencing challenges just like every single one of you out there. And that's the space that I'm in right now. We're going to talk about trauma this week. We're going to talk about being in survival mode, because when I am experiencing these things in real time, I tap into the field of the Akashic records, which the Akashic records, if you are new to this space, is the realm of consciousness that holds every detail of our past, our present, all possible futures from a neutral perspective. Neutral means unconditional love and zero judgment. And it allows us to see what is unseen. It allows us to perceive ourselves and our life and our situations from God mind or goddess mind, superconscious intelligence, which allows us to make better decisions. And I'm so grateful for this modality right now in my life. I'm so grateful for each one of you. Many of you might already know what I'm referencing when I talk about all hell breaking loose in my life. And that is my oldest son had an injury, had an accident, and he experienced, notice I'm going to be very careful with my languaging as I'm sharing this with you, and we'll get more into that in a little bit. But I'm not going to say he suffered this life-altering experience. I'm saying he experienced it. He had an accident that, just to give you guys a high-level overview, and the details aren't as important as how we're showing up to this situation. But he had an accident where his right foot was injured, and we're dealing with crushed bones, torn, broken, severed ligaments, and open wounds. And the prognosis the doctors have given is he will make a full recovery. And I know that my son has the mindset. He has a champion, a warrior within him that will accompany him and support him in making a full recovery. But he's got a couple years. I do feel like he will timeline crunch that healing journey. But he has a couple of years before he will experience full healing and walking on this foot again, which is a life-altering experience. We are still in the process, after spending 6 days in the hospital, rearranging life, excuse me, in home care and all of the pieces, putting all the pieces in place that this child needs for the best recovery. And holy cow, how many of you have experienced trauma or are experiencing it right now? Just let me know in the comments. I know all of us experience this from time to time in this incarnation, being here in the 3D. And my intention is to share with you all today the real-time intelligence that's dropping in from the Akashic records that's helping me and my family move through this. I feel like it's such important intelligence that we need, because again, you are going to experience times in your life, no matter how awake you are, no matter how high your vibration is, there will be invitations from the universe that your soul has signed up for that look a lot like, what the heck is happening? And you want to pull your hair out and you want to go into victim mode. But I want to share with you today the perspective that is so beautifully inspiring me through this time. So take a moment, share this out. I want to make sure as many people on the planet who are ready to hear this information today can hear this information. I also do want to keep the space open for questions today, but I want to keep the questions tailored to trauma, if you've experienced it, or something that's kicked you into survival mode in your life. If you have questions about the intelligence that comes in, oh yes, PTSD. Yes, there's a lot of PTSD happening. I'm noticing it in my system, nervous system of Mama Bear here. I'm feeling it. Jack, obviously, there are lots of layers to this besides just the physical healing that Jack gets to go through over the course of this next time. So please share this out so as many of our human brothers and sisters here on this planet that are ready to receive this intelligence can receive this real time today. If you are new to the show, I'm Emily Harrison. I'm the founder director here inside the Akashic Academy. I work with visionaries and thought leaders, training them how to tap in to this space of intelligence, soul level intelligence, so we can ask questions and get instantaneous downloads of wisdom, guidance, clarity, access points to higher level of wisdom, so that we can make powerful, courageous decisions and change our lives for the better. And here's how I'm using them. Y'all, here's what it looks like. So I want to start out by sharing with you the moments of being in the hospital. Okay. Jacqueline, I see you talking about the trauma there and sharing, yes, you witnessed your husband dying, haven't been able to sleep and in a constant fog. Just holding space right now for you, Jacqueline, and everybody else. Jane, yes, who has experienced the trauma. Ash, I see you. Christopher, yes. Ooh, powerful time of coming together here today. All right, so let's start out in the hospital. The moments after the intense trauma has happened and we're just still trying to wrap. For me, let me stop speaking in we's and start speaking in me, because I'm going to share my personal experience. I noticed I was still trying to wrap my head around the reality of the situation. There's shock that happens in the beginning. And for me, when my body starts going into shock, it's almost like there's a part of my soul or my essence that moves out of body just a little bit, because there's so much that the nervous system is receiving. And the challenge with this is that if I hadn't paid attention to the fact that I felt like, ooh, part of me is like moving up here and just observing myself moving through this, I could have potentially lost access to that higher self connection. We never lose access to it, but if we ignore it, or if it moves up here a little bit and you feel like you go into robot mode, which is how I was feeling, what I noticed was my thoughts also went into an old robot pattern. And I was experiencing just like really stressful thoughts. And from managing the other children, from managing work, from being present to the physical pain that my son was experiencing. And I'm replaying this over and over in my mind. And then all of a sudden, bam, the records, they get my attention, right? And they say, hey, Emily, your part of you has moved up here a little bit. Tap into your higher self and open up that line of communication so that you can receive support as you're going through this. Because what happens is, if you go on robot mode and you don't remember to tap in, there will be support that's available for you that you don't lock into because you lose the awareness to ask and to stay tapped in. Remember, we live in a matrix of free will, which, thank goodness, because so many of us get trapped in this matrix and we think it's really challenging to get out. I will give it to you. It can be challenging to get out. But if you want to keep it really simple, you retain free will at every moment. And getting out of the matrix just requires you making different decisions. Being slave to the matrix means being slave to your 3D reality and the subconscious programs that go along with that, which are the stress, which are the feelings of overwhelm, which are feelings of regret, feelings of being entrapped to a particular situation. And you need to stay tethered to your higher self, your ability to have divine communication in these moments. And sometimes you will feel your body checking out. So that can be reminder number one, is remember to tether and to keep connection with your higher self. As soon as I tap back into my higher self, into source, into my records, I open my records, guys, instantaneously, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and Isis all came in, and they created this triangular energy around me, holding me in this energy, reminding me that in essence, what I was doing in that hospital room with him for 6 days was similar to sitting vigil. Sitting vigil is when someone is about to pass. And now Jack had a great prognosis of keeping his right foot and making a full recovery. So I wasn't in fear of his life at this point. But what I was aware of is that timelines are crumbling. Opportunities to emerge in a new reality are at bay. They're present in these moments. And what do we know about the 7 Hermetic principles? We know that mentalism is the first principle, and that says that thoughts create everything. So what Isis and the Marys were helping me do, and they were holding this frequency in my field that allowed me an awareness of when my thoughts went into a density or a stress or an overwhelm. They brought me back into an invitation to experience high frequency thoughts, whether it's gratitude, whether it was hopefulness, whether it was tapping into the bigger vision and trusting. We must trust. And if you lose connection with your highest self or source there, it can be really challenging to trust this. But we must know that the universe is conspiring for our good in all times. Thank you for those heart emojis going across the screen. I love coming on and sharing with you all every Wednesday. I will admit that it's much easier to tune in and help you all and solve your problems than it is to talk about mine. Like, my heart gets going a little bit here. My nervous system reacts as I tell these stories because it's been a lot to move through. So thank you for the encouragement, the love hearts sending across the screen. Keep sending them. Remember, I was a Hollywood actress for 20 years. So the live encouragement always feels good. It feels good to be held in your frequency as well. And this is a great time just to thank you all, amazing prayer warriors who have been praying for Jack, have been sending love and light. I also wanted to say that Isis and the Marys shared this with me about those moments of sitting vigil. And that is the importance of how I relayed the story. And I knew that if I asked and shared on social media, there would be a huge community of talented, conscious light workers and visionaries showing up to hold the space. I'm going to call these beings teachers because as Magdalene, Mother Mary, and Isis came in through my Akashic records, they came in as teachers. Teachers are lesson specific, right? So these were the guides that were coming in and working with my energy, my frequency on this very specific lesson, these important moments where the time-space continuum is rearranging, old timelines are collapsing, new ones are being created. How I showed up and held the space in that hospital room while Jack was sleeping most of the time. The thoughts, the frequency, the emotion that I was putting in that room was so important. And the second aspect was how I relayed the information and how I invited the engagement of support was really important too. And so here's what they taught me, my great teachers in this moment. They shared the idea of, all right, Emily, people are going to want to pray for you and to support you. Your job as a visionary is to give them the vision of how to direct their energy, how to focus this tremendous amount of energy. And at that point in time, the team who assembled for my son, because it's going to take a lot of specialists, put old Humpty Dumpty's foot back together again, not only physically here on this planet, but also the intergalactic teams that are coming in to support. The gathering of this team was very important. So I asked specifically when people said, what kind of prayer do you need? How can I pray for you? Direct your prayer warriors in a very specific way. Please hold space for the vision of the highest, most expertise team for my son. Is this making sense? And yeah, thank you. Anne says great information. It can seem somewhat simple, like duh. But remember, when you are in robot mode, it can be challenging to access the simplicity of step-by-step instructions on what you can do to really move yourself and to call forward the highest levels of support. Okay. I got my notes here, my special notebook. Let me see what else that I wanted to share. Oh, they also shared with me that this was an important role for me. That what I was, being invited into required forgiveness, required me to hold strength and joy, with the awareness that my ability to do this was changing the direction of the outcome for the positive. And so I want you to think about how many times are you going through trauma yourself, or you're walking someone through trauma, and think about where your mind goes and how you show up. We're angry, we're frustrated, we want to respond. We want to sometimes release that energy from the body. We definitely need to release it, but we've got to release it through enlightened techniques, through breath, through yoga, through crying it out, through having our emotions, through journaling, not by lashing out. Because what will happen is this is what happened for me when my nervous system was incredibly taxed, holding a lot of charge. I noticed my nervous system was fighting for my old identity, which I might be known for being the confrontational one in my family. This started somewhere in college when I was really learning to speak my truth and was very entitled in doing so, and wouldn't hesitate to speak my mind, even if it wasn't in the kindest way. It was in a reactionary kind of way. And I started getting what I wanted, or getting the situation to change, or there was some effect or some change that happened based on my behavior that way. And I've also hit the point of diminishing returns, where if I don't get what I want and I'm in that, bitchy, demanding diva mode, of you listen to me here, that is not the best energy to meet situations. And I found that part of me, that part of me that wanted to fight in that way, which, by the way, I discovered this somewhere along the way of this particular experience as well, is that fighter warrior gene. It comes from our Orion ancestry. Imagine if we didn't have that illuminated in our DNA, by the way. Just take a moment and imagine that. Send me some love likes, hearts across the screen when you begin to tap into a society where we do not have turned on in our epigenetics that instinct to fight each other or to fight when we don't get what we want. Whew, this was a great opportunity. Talk about flipping the switches. Our genetics, it's just coding. What we've learned from Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Greg Braden and Dr. Joe Dispenza and others is that we have the ability to flip these switches on and off. So as soon as I recognized that, I went in, I flipped that switch off. You can flip that switch off in your DNA, and you will not lose strength, power, or the ability to affect change. You will actually increase it. For those of you who are ready, good activation coming in today. Go in and imagine just flipping that switch. It's epigenetic coding. Just imagine a switchboard. Go to that switchboard where your instinct is to fight and flip it if you want. I know some of us are warriors in our heart and soul, and there is a place for that. So if you don't want to flip your warrior fighter switch off, keep it on. And I chose to flip mine off in this moment. All right, let's see what else. In the hospital, what does this say? Oh, firewalling the negative thoughts because timelines are rearranging. So firewalling the thoughts, here's what that looked like. There was an invitation as my nervous system is fighting to go into this fighter mode, back into this fighter mode, back into this victim mode. What I recognized was if I didn't want to go back into that mode, I needed to have control over my thoughts. I call this firewalling my thoughts. One of my great friends, colleagues, and mentors, David Mailer, reached out to me, and he used the word mind taming. Think about the power of mind taming, and when you firewall negative or stressful thoughts that come in. For me specifically, what that looked like was there was an invitation to think about all of the things that my very athletic son can't do for the next 2 years. Instantly, there was Isis, Magdalene, and Mother Mary saying, no, shift that. Think about what he can do. So that's a great one to have in your back pocket too. If you notice that you need to have more mind control, it's not going to do you much good just to be like, yep, I see you. I need to have more mind control. You need to have a specific plan in place, a specific implementation point, so that you can continue to repeat this process. And I've had to repeat it over and over and over and over again, firewalling those thoughts. Oh, this one's so good, so helpful. In the moments, the height of the moments when it feels very overwhelming, I heard the whisper from my teachers, remember his soul chose this, and so did you. And if we can trust and know that we choose, that we allow these moments of complete timeline shift and potential for rearrangement to happen, we chose this, we invited this. What happens is we shift from a victim mentality into one of empowerment. And you must stay in that place of empowerment if you are to have access to the great opportunity that gets to come from experiences of trauma. There's always great opportunity. but it's very easy to miss if you allow yourself to go back into victim mode. All right, send some love, likes, hearts across the screen for me if this is making sense. I'm going to turn the page here. So I got a little more that I want to share with you all now that we are out of the hospital. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anne says, my warrior in me is strong. There's a place for it, but it doesn't have to be as hurtful like I used to be. Yes. I am also noticing another Hermetic principle that is helping me. I love the Hermetic principles. Those of you who are members of my monthly membership program, the Ether, we've been training in the 7 Hermetic principles. But the principle of opposites that says every experience we have or everything that there is here on the planet, we can experience it from a frequency of negativity, density. Let's just use like love and fear. I could experience this from the perspective of fear if I keep vibrating and holding the frequency of fear, or I could experience it from the frequency of love. And that was like the first thing that the Marys and Isis said to me was they invited me to experience a ferocious, all transforming love. And see, I can still be so powerful. And that idea of being ferocious, I see how you can say there's like that fighter energy in there, right? But imagine that warrior energy being able to be expressed through love. Be a warrior for your peace. Be a warrior for your journey of expansion, right? So I recognize I could experience through whatever lens I wanted to. And for those of you who feel that warrior nature, experience that warrior nature through love and through compassion. You are a warrior, Anne. I love you. All right. So let's talk about now, since being out of the hospital and working to create a new normal. Again, it's so easy to fall into victim mode, especially if you're in survival. And I feel like with all of the juggling and the witnessing of the physical trauma and pain that he's in, and the nightmares and all of the pieces, survival mode, feeling like I'm just getting moment to moment, you're going to be in it at times. So here's what I've dissected from the records of when we're in it. And that is, we've got to notice what it is that we're feeling, what's playing over and over in our minds. And for me, again, there were a couple of moments since being home when I felt like, again, I left my body and I'm in robot mode and I'm walking to the pharmacy to get yet another pain medication for this young man, which that's another aspect of this, right? Is dealing with the long-term effects of the intense pain medications he's on and properly guiding him through that process. And as I'm going into the pharmacy to pick up another one, all of a sudden I tap in and I notice, here's what I'm saying to myself. I'm so stressed. I'm so stressed. I'm so stressed. I'm so stressed. And as soon as I recognized that that was the loop that was playing, I was like, oh shit. You know that emoji, the big eyes and the oh? I recognized that the loop I was playing over and over in my mind was disastrous and I needed to take 2. So I instantly reframed the story. I made a conscious choice out of my own free will in that moment to release the mantra, I am stressed, I am stressed, I am stressed, and replaced it with, I am at peace. I am at peace. And I got to about the 3rd, I am at peace, and it washed over my body. I felt my frequency shift and change. And I thought, okay, this is powerful. I need to stay on top of this. This is an area of that mind taming that was coming forward. But you've got to take time to identify the self-talk that's coming up when you're in robot mode. Next, the practice. You've got to have a practice that keeps your frequency stable and high. You've got to stay grounded. For me, shoes off, barefoot in Mother Earth, deep breaths. Actually connecting to Mother Earth with my shoes and socks off so that my body has this physiological and biological response with the planet, releasing the stress from my body. If you've heard of earthing, type earthing in the comments for me. Meditation is a must. Meditation is what allows you to slow down when you get caught in what feels like the microcosm, the moment to moment, and you have lost touch with the bigger picture. Meditation is what's going to slow you down enough where you can go back into that 80,000 foot view and your vision will expand. You must expand your vision if you're going through trauma, because there is a bigger purpose and reason why you are moving through a particular situation. And if you don't stay connected to your practice, your nervous system will betray you. And you will lose access to the bigger vision. Okay, super important. Make a commitment that you are going to view everything that comes into your field through the perspective of the universe is conspiring for my good. Ask yourself, here's a great question. Why is this good? Why is this good? Because if you go back to the previous point I made where you slow down and you begin to really look at your thoughts, observe your thoughts when you're in trauma, when you're in crisis mode, when you're in survival mode, chances are you're asking, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? On the background, and we barely realize it. You've heard me likely talk about the statistics of the mind before. The average human has between 12 and 60,000 thoughts per day. Let's see, let me remember the specifics. 90 to 95% of those thoughts are negative. Up to 80% of those thoughts are the same thoughts you had yesterday. So they're repeating. And 95 to 99% are subconscious. You don't even realize that you're thinking them. So that's why you got to stop and check in with where you really are, how your human is responding, so you know what to reframe. Taking this back to the specifics, when people want to know what they can do, how can I help you? Pray for me. Now, pray specifically for this, XYZ, or a better outcome, right? We want to direct our energy and focus our energy into specific channels. When you are going through crisis mode and you're going to start the reprogramming of the mind, you got to observe and get clear with what's playing on this auto loop so that you can fix it. Furthermore, when you ask yourself and you actually become aware of what's playing out for you on auto loop, you'll hear yourself next time you go into it. You'll be like, oh yeah, there it goes again. Oh man, ooh, I got to shake out of that. But we've got to bring these moments of awareness. It's simple, but it's really easy to forget, especially again in survival mode. Okay, then it's back to choice. Yesterday, 4th of July here in it's the 4th of July everywhere, really. And here in America, we're celebrating freedom. Go back into the freedom of choosing your thoughts. Require yourself to find the good in a situation. And the more you rehearse this, the more you do this over and over again, the more it will become habitual. Yes, we have some deprogramming, some unprogramming to do in order to make this happen on repeat for the good. But there is a moment where your thoughts will begin to shift. And embrace these moments of trauma and challenge as one of the most potent times to reprogram your mind. We all have to go through mind reprogramming. We showed up here on this planet agreeing to go through it during this time because we're helping and shifting the collective as we do. Remember that grid of consciousness that we imagined when we were all coming on here together? We are informing that grid, reminding ourselves and each other, strengthening that ability to make a choice of how we feel, making a choice to feel peace. Wayne Dyer. Oh, love you, Dr. Wayne. quoted A Course in Miracles. And every time I share this, I hear his voice ringing in my awareness. Remember, at any moment, I can choose peace rather than this. I can choose peace rather than this. If you are experiencing trauma, or you know that you are still suffering repercussions, sorry, let me change that word. You are still experiencing the fallout of trauma. Maybe you didn't have the tools to move through trauma when you did, and you went on default mode and you acted out and you are still holding the charge of that. That's what happens, is that we hold the charge of the trauma in the somatic tissues of our body, the soft tissues of our body. I want to invite you into a special training coming up that's going to help you identify where you're holding on to subconscious blocks that are keeping you from moving forward. Trauma might be a big one of those for many of you. We're going to clear it out this weekend. We have our What's Next workshop coming up. And this workshop is designed to bring you face to face with what your soul direction is in this lifetime. I got some papers. I got my special notes here. I want to just share with you guys what problems we're going to be solving in this training coming up. If you're watching on StreamYard, I'm popping it into the What's Next workshop where you can sign up. A free training, again, popping it into the comments. If you are tuning in on one of our other platforms where you don't see that popping up in the comments, please check out Linktree or type What's Next. I'll circle back in, look at these comments and check in. And if you type What's Next in the comments, I'll make sure that either myself or my team reaches out to you with that link so you can get signed up. But the specific problems that we're going to be solving in this training look like helping you break out of ruts and identify the patterns that are keeping your life stagnant. So if you know that you're in a rut, you want something different, you know that there are patterns that are holding you back, this is for you. It's going to show you how to identify those patterns. Oh man, there's a radical activation for self-love. Self-hatred is an epidemic right now. We don't even realize the ways that we have been programmed to hold that frequency of self-hatred. We are going to eradicate that, eliminate that. I will give you an awesome reframe and activation that will help you hold the frequency of unconditional love for yourself and others. If you have problems trusting yourself to make powerful decisions in your life, you feel wishy-washy, we're going to tap you into a frequency of knowingness, of clarity, and courage that helps you make decisions that you know you need to make for your life. If you are having trouble getting clear on where to focus in your life, maybe you've got several projects or several things in your life that need fixed, we're going to show you how to get really clear on determining what to focus on. And then we're also going to talk about the art of course correction, when and how to actually make the shift. Like once you realize what's next for your soul, if you are not currently on that path, we are going to break down for you a formula of how to course correct and move with the highest levels of peace and grace into that new timeline. Which, by the way, if you are experiencing trauma, it's the invitation to course correct and move yourself into a new timeline. So it will be my great honor and privilege to usher you all through that incredible training this weekend. There will be replays. If you can't join us live, it will be from 10 to 12 a.m. Pacific time. I love you all. Please share in the comments with me what landed for you all today. And if this did serve you, one more reminder to please share this out, because the more of us that learn to show up to the challenge in our life with repeatable formulas that allow us to harness our consciousness, to embody it, to take all of these aha moments that we've learned in our head, but actually put them into action, life gets exciting and changes really fast for the positive. And that's a great job to have. A good gig, if you can get it. It inspires me and uplifts my own frequency. So I'm super excited to share this time with you all this weekend. All right. With no further ado, that wraps us up for today. I see my personal messages are blowing up right now with messages from Jack, who just underwent another procedure. So thank you all for loving me, for loving my son and my family, and receiving this wisdom as it comes in, as I can share it in real time. I'll see you all back here next week. Oh, actually, I'll see you this weekend, hopefully, and then, of course, back here again next week.